It's a media offer social media so a honorable Sam George na man for so many. Na me just what say honorable Sam George mo e dey mrafo for bi ba e ba be cyber security mranimu any ade aye hu we mo show to ba say ma me nchemu because am the democracy honorable Sam George e be than cyber security agency no or be than Thanos.
Have you ever noticed that among all the Infinity Stones Thanos collected, there was one he never actually used?
I was on demo no a bro my junior Montiac. So I gossip 24. Message so be me a subscribe button so no clickable notification icon. So I had the power this show same. It's feel free so bet you or comment section mo. Name mo chewadre so na me cow. So pese power ba ofie. Say bia we bia nnuemu o nneoma siemu o fie ade yomu a. But when they so be contact Gold household. E ba ne fie ho nneoma. What I say fie ho nneoma rice cooker blender. If you had your washing machine, dryers, fridge, deep freezers, or maybe the supervision store money are there. Goes 24. The over 12 Gold household will be anum. You 200 Ghana cedis, and the official. You 200 Ghana cedis. Contact you. Open up there. Contact you. On number said that screen. So no. Ube to yafa no afro o akra on be deliver ba ofie. O kuma se hefa na wo on be deliver. Ediava. Na eba back to nkomo so. Eti honorable Sam George. And I'm for say honorable Sam George almost said that who the because. In the year 2020, His Excellency Nanda Akufo-Addo Aban no madin say omo establish a cybersecurity authority. No mo the emra betai cybersecurity authority nechi no. Emra ne eba no Act 1038 no. Honorable Sam George chere na dwen say na omo na be fight cybercrime. Cybercrime no your agencies wo ho no mo your computer emergency response teams layout wo ho deda I be chere sa nyama we na edien na sa media omo de emra we ba.
The justification of fighting cybercrime is flawed. You already have the infrastructure today that is fighting cybercrime. You have a national cybersecurity advisor at the ministry. There's a national cybersecurity center. There's a joint interministerial working group on fighting on cybercrime that has the Minister for National Security, has the Minister for Communications, has the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, has the Minister for Interior. There are about 7 ministers on it. And the structures exist. If you are setting up an authority, that is just a bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is going to be responsible for policy, regulation, and frameworks. That authority is not going to be responsible for the fight against cybercrime. The fight against cybercrime across the world has never been done by governments. It is always done by private sector agencies. What you will see is that government is going to say that okay, for all IT-enabled service providers. So take for example, for a bank that uses ICT and has access to people's data, the authority will set a benchmark of regulations that you need to meet, basic requirements that you need to have to be able to operate the business. That's the job of the authority. Now it is for the bank to go and get a private sector licensed operator by the authority to provide that service. When that operator provides the service, then the authority will be responsible for ensuring that they are providing the requisite service. Let me break it down for you. It's like the telcos today. The telcos are private sector industry players. You want to make a phone call, you need a medium to make a phone call. The NCA has been set up, but the NCA is not responsible for you making the phone call. The NCA has licensed a private investor to provide you the service and has told the private investor, these are the minimum benchmarks that you must meet. These are the minimum benchmarks that you must meet. And so what happens is that the NCA would MTN, Tigo, Airtel, and then Vodafone are giving you that level of service that they have set. It is not NCA that provides you the service. So when you set up a cybersecurity authority, their role is to ensure that private sector players in that industry will provide a certain level of protection. As we speak today, there is at the National Data Center, there is a national set. When you go to the Bank of Ghana, there's a set. When you go to the military and intelligence agencies, there's a set. When you go to the NCA, there's a set. We have about 8 sets that are functional in the country. The set is the computer emergency response teams. So you do not need any new revenue to set up a bureaucracy. It is a ruse. They are just trying to raise revenue to plug in and fill the hole that they have created by their wanton Obolo-sized government and the wanton expenditure of this government that cannot be justified.
Are you planning to take to?
Well, during the debate, we are going to fight it. And we are going to, well, this is just a proposal to government. And I'm optimistic that we will make a solid case and the House will turn it down. I mean, proposals have come to Parliament and they've been turned down. And I hope that we stop this. And let me use this medium to call on the Ghanaian people. The finance minister likes to quote the Bible. O ye people of Ghana, rise up in righteous indignation against those who dwell in authority and in the high places of power and abuse our trust and abuse our resources. If they manage our resources well, we will not need this new tax. Rise up in anger against it. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Na sase we no Honorable Sam George Kani na no. Obi announce won da yeda say beba. Na de sa emra no ebebemu. Na the Honorable Sam George Kani yi na echi no. Obe propose say ye ba be amend emra no. Say the ora Yesu ba obe kan wo Matthew no. O se we mbegu Mose emra na mo obe share ne de obe share ne ma no. Honorable Sam George embegu emra no kaseti an no. Na mom or the more powers e ba emra no to the extent say Cybersecurity Authority Honorable Sam George a question here. So a new quite some more quite say about fight cyber crime any idea no. Honorable Sam George more powers. So bet me action for. And a man for Honorable Sam George. Who be creative Thanos wa ha. You be try adwin because I'm emra no omunya fa nko parliament e mo munjintu. Honorable Sam George mu ebie kwan say a man for enchi omadwe. But emra na was so ti ase say na bia obeti e che wadwe esiafa because there are positives and there are negatives. It's yankomo. Now this is going to be a lecture. So permit me. I say permit me. Permit me. Yankom. So in the year 2020, this Cybersecurity Act no eba back a Cybersecurity Authority no, right? There were a few things that act and he explained it. Now, don't get it twisted. Ghana, Cybersecurity Authority no, equivalent to America for Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Essentially equivalent to UK for England, UK for National Cybersecurity Center. Essentially equivalent to Canada for Canadian Center for Cybersecurity. And agencies way no. Any Ghana Cybersecurity Authority no. Omudi no epe. Obia wo mre back no. And inside agencies let's see as example ni na no. Omomra no governance, advice, oversight, sebia lay down standards, baselines, any idea I was say institutions e follow. Sa no omomra metie. Sa so na Ghana has say in the Act 1038 by in 2020 Cybersecurity Act no. A share objectives of the Cybersecurity Authority said Cybersecurity Authority no regulating cybersecurity activities or my way mu preventing normal managing normal responding to cybersecurity threats be affect your my way regulating owners of critical information infrastructure. Now I have say no so my main chemu kakrancho say I can say obi our critical information infrastructure I trying to find the CII na they say any panel a part of these sectors no as a national security and intelligence, ICT, information communication and technology, banking and finance, energy, water, transport, health, emergency services, government, food and agriculture, manufacturing, mining and also education. Where any infrastructures are buying when say critical to omaini. It's almost say Cybersecurity Authority we no. Aba say ebe be protect sa critical infrastructures we. Eba be regulate owners are operate within sa critical infrastructures we. And afa so no ebe be promote the development of cybersecurity. Esa so be establish a platform ebe ma cross-sector engagements akoso. Esa so be create awareness of cybersecurity matters because in cybersecurity no ye won nyoma miensa ehu here the people, the processes and the product technology no. Obetumi get processes and the product right but say people no problem you have a problem in your cybersecurity space. Intino aba say be create awareness on cybersecurity matters. Asaso ba say be collaborating with international agencies. Say they be promoting the cybersecurity of the country because so might be all for cybersecurity who and you're serious no. What da ho we chi go ho. Say they be kano e wo monteso no. Sa no mind no aye. Enti omote sa cybersecurity agency we and the same now we tell which say nyoma way and your objectives. But in the new amendments no eba no and the objectives need be aba becount. Now once in the old one no G, but in the new one no honorable Sam George will propose what they call parliament no H and I not somebody mienu aba beshim na mienu amudi aba beshim no bako and they say Cybersecurity Authority no eba be prevent it no mas also detect cyber crime at the corner honorable Sam George can once in the past say ade na Cybersecurity Authority no ebeyesa no eno na honorable Sam George mo proposes here.
The justification of fighting cybercrime is flawed. You already have the infrastructure today that is fighting cybercrime. You have a national cybersecurity advisor at the ministry. There's a national cybersecurity center. There's a joint interministerial working group on fighting on cybercrime that has the Minister for National Security, has the Minister for Communications, has the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, has the Minister for Interior. There are about 7 ministers on it. And the structures exist. If you are setting up an authority, that is just a bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is going to be responsible for policy, regulation, and framework.
Other thing, and they say, omo de ashemu wa ha, maka say mienu aba beka ho, omo objectives mienu aba beka ho. Omo de ashemu wa ha no mo say to facilitate the confiscation of proceeds of crime. Omo de aba be shemu wa say enya cyber crime ne nkwa no be detect, no ma prevent. Omo so de be mo power say omo betumi a confiscate proceeds of crime. Now ahano me assure say wo can say bia Nigeria for wo EFCC. Nigeria for EFCC no equivalent to Ghana ha Yoko ne performing the duties of Nigeria for EFCC. Sa responsibility no uko US ya your offense and honorable your financial crime enforcement network e wo honorable omo no ye responsible omo ni IRS for and collaborate yes I adwuma no e wo USA. Inti enye Cybersecurity Authority for adwuma. Inti honorable Sam George e raise questions. E man no opposition but ba power no Wababa adjust from A to J and the H ne I account. H ne I no or the ashemu or E ne F say omo be prevent no me detect cybercrime. Now face no omo facilitate no ma confiscate proceeds of crime. Proceeds of cybercrime. Now enya no kwa. Oko the old act mo, right? It share the functions of the authority. It share functions no. I just say some be advise government. Now first no more promote security of computers and computer systems wo man mu. No more monitor cyber security threats e wo man mu. No more establish codes of practice. Almost also establish standards for certified cyber security products. Almost establish how you be maintain a national security and no more be threaten your defense and no more be threaten your economy, which is perfect. Almost also say Ebema minister no kwan amane to identify now a designated critical information infrastructure which match show the sectors are a year under the critical information infrastructure obetumi akọ online search e a open document na ema minister no kwan so be regulate side no mani nyina. There was nowhere in the previous law na ema obi akwan so be prosecute cyber crime near there. But our honorable Sam George amendment no we proposing no, right? Section 2 or section 4A is inserted. Section 4 of the old act no functions of the authority. But see and almost say further functions of the authority. That is existing functions so we be by the count. Almost say the authority shall in addition to the function or in section 4 carry out the following functions. A. Subject to Article 88 of the Constitution to investigate and on the authority of the Attorney General prosecute cybercrime under this act at the corner honorable Sam George Ekasetia no de abeshemu e wo bi oyemo o propose. Now enya no kwa in the old act no Act 1038 no the governing body of the authority and now no say initially no authority no na ebewo board never consisting of Minister for Communication, Interior Minister, National Security, and also Defense Minister. But sisi anomo propose say e ho no person almost sano. Almost section 5 of Act 1038 amended. Omo amending say after IV our old act no omo the VI eba beka ho. So the Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Minister eba be sha ho. Omo the Gender Children and Social Protection Minister eba beka ho enti board no omo biem omo tre board ni mo ewo ho no mo omo tre board ni mo National Cybersecurity Authority no omo the Foreign Affairs Minister eba beka ho omo the Gender Protection and Gender, Children and Social Protection eba beka board no omo tre. Now in the old act no na Cybersecurity Authority no ewo funds, right? In the old act no more funds of the authority available say ebema Cybersecurity Authority so dey schedule on betumi dey running on operations ni ade oh yeah as we agency bia na e wo say wutumi provision for funds nti e ho no omo plan e say sika no parliament be approve no one source of funding for authority no and also for agency no almost also can say administrative penalties say bia obi wo ho no mo na mama no ho kwan say onye adwuma o cyber security terrain mu na say bia obu umra so we follow standards and na say procedure bia mo de beto on ma o metumi a charge no penalty wo ho no mo betua what obi one more operate without license penalty wo ho betua any other internally generated funds say bia loans grants and na say donations be approved by the minister or responsible for finance and na say bia amount be charge on the fund is subject to the approval of the board. And now say any other man is biana minister or responsible for finance be ebe approve amon biana a hono benyo musika defi. But our new emra ni muno ena bill no make an say bill because nyamba emra our new bill ni muno and no more propose say sources of fund no person mo adjustment ampa seed parliament be approve the amon so mo fan rani agency no be giatum sika bia na obi betua de ma agency be o be giatum na mom no because honorable sub-judge epe prosecution powers now we charge cyber crime ain't no omo fine obi omo prosecuting omo fine obi a any panel criminal proceeds no omo as an authority no ebe fe mu 50%. Criminal penalties no omo as an authority ebe fe 50%. It is 50% weight no and share cyber crime authority any be crack on the pen of 50%. Grants and gifts in donation, the Omeko Swaji. Name of communication service tax, I edge or my way mono. Omo pay mu 12%, omo pay mu 12%. Embre agency no. And also authority no. Omo pay mu 12% in Bromo. Oma can the trust I can say na charges beer be determined. See, I almost specify some 12% of communications service tax. I edge or my way. Almost also pay 9% corporate tax per annum. Yen fa mo corporate tax e be no. Yen fa mu 9% yen fa mo. Miscellaneous de ka ho de na ka ho de da. Ni mo person mo di we shape. Say first no na ECG first na bra no ECG na mo bi si ada mo tremu A B C D E F G H I J and omoje nto mo di bia ba be shape 50% of sikebi ombenye bia from criminal we now ombenye no prosecutions no sikebi ombenye film bia 50% enko mo ho 12% communication service tax imagine afibiano move 12% if 9% of corporate tax fund afibia move 9% if amomo sana me answer we and omudi ababeshim. Now one thing that the confusion about over this new amendment no section 57. Now section 57 of the old act no right act 1038 and that's the existing act no our motion some be amending and some be shemu no akasa about accreditation and certification say almost cybersecurity authority no ebe accredit cybersecurity professionals and practitioners. What say almost cybersecurity authority no ebe establishing mechanisms for certification of cybersecurity products and technology solutions. Now listen, these two sections of the Act, the existing Act 1038, no, are very vague and open because so go US, right? Or what we federal, and I say CMMC no nkrofo mpese omo go into contract e bi aban edwuma bi on pese omo koye cyber security service providers bi on pese omo ko di aban contract bi no omo ye ma na bi aban school bi anase bibi no pese omo ye ma na e wo se wo sa certification no what say and some obetumi aye say edwuma na di ama aban no. So there is something like that in the US. And then there's also FedRAMP no say bia so wo ye cloud service provider na so obetumi aye edwuma on ebia buying critical infrastructure be to say they will be Ghana has say na and was our federal certification no answer now say you say cloud that to the layman no won say wo iPhone e wo hono what me saving no matter to iCloud so saving number na akwakoda iCloud so right who saving 100 for saving no na akwakoda Google Cloud so it decide number no cloud che say a new phone so e wo baby a bet me download anytime bia wo pe eti enkrofo mo US just almost no a person omo ye adwuma bi e ma aban no ana so omo ye adwuma bi e wa aban mu no a omo own omo company na so omo ye cyber security for no omo e required so ombenya sa certification no ansa na omo tumi aye sa adwuma no bi it's a need sa certification as adwuma no with respect to cloud no untumi enye bi unless we federal no enti Ghana has a Cybersecurity Act 1038 no section 758 no very vague. I just not any definition bia. It's not my for say honorable some the amendment say ba. Amendment we propose no e be defining a few things. Now amendment we propose here no to section 58 no say on be establish mechanism say na maka na. On be establish how one be accredited individuals so individuals be accredited by authority no eti no and as how many honorable some judge mo extend say be introduce cyber hygiene certification scheme na cyber hygiene certification scheme a programmer de be certify cyber security professionals and practitioners and after cyber security service providers and after some cyber security service providers be kwan ama omonso no etumi a perform cyber hygiene certification service e ama enkrofo mu fi amanane on person be ye adwuma and Ghana has say infrastructure be so just like senior US for federal and as a CMMC no san honorable Sam George mo propose say cyber hygiene certification scheme omo dey ba na cyber hygiene certification scheme no and omo kasa omo dey flat rate beto ho no mo omo meche process abetumi akomu na wa apply for obi an charge mbro the o machine so wow ye be kasa bia we are non compliant to esese o de beto no no o me fine o mo mra mo do be fa so na section 57C a o de share the old act ni mo no e no mba be kire mu say e wo mo be review e wo mo the fees ni bi e be ka ho e wo mo so be fees ni so for cyber hygiene certification service no na cyber hygiene certification service no o mo ka biom say so be a cyber security service provider. Na say or render cyber hygiene certification service no e di ama obi. I be person be ye no Ghana. And I say be obi a ne ho so na or boa sa nipa na. Fee wo ho no me wo so charge. Na fee a obe charge no. Omo as an agency no. E wo emu 30%. Enti say wo bie wo company. Na say we are recognized as a cyber security service provider. Baby, I wait to know. Who certificate ma on kwan says cyber hygiene certification program. Who to me render now we issue certificates in ma amount for. Say cyber security authority in ma sa kwan na. Now we ma out sa license no and as certification on behalf of cyber security authority na. Essence of ma sa kwan ni no. Fee no amount for betua e de ama wo no omo cyber security authority no omo ogie mu 30% e de ato cyber security fund no mu na wa fa 70% no enti wo betumi arane eno as a service enti enye se be charge wo individual na wo ye cyber security professional no be charge wo ebi asika wo benya in a year no be 30% no unless all right any cyber hygiene certification program no as a service and a fee on beka just a charge no obema omumu emu 30% sa and a cybersecurity authority no eka ewa. So we say 30% of the revenue generated by a certified cybersecurity professional or cybersecurity practitioner or cybersecurity service provider under the scheme shall be paid into the cybersecurity fund. Sana mrano eka wahase. And I think this part of the amendment bill is a good thing. But the major red flag, no, powers of investigation, prosecution, any idea omodiama the authority. And no, it started from section 59. Now, so we hear the old act 1038, section 59 now. The old act, you know, about cybersecurity standards, enforcement, and education. A say authority, no, and your mom be developing education and skills development, hardware and software engineering, standards for air governance and risk management, standards for research and development, standards for practitioners, or more other relevant areas. Authority no ebe determine or more. Say nebe to me in accordance with best practices. We na a what the old act no. But Honorable Sam George mo essay. Sa old act no. Omo dibi ba beka ho. Na sa old act di omo dibi ba beka ho no. Section 59B. Omo chem say authority ni nya sa to me we nkwa. The authority ni benya powers. To media conduct investigations. No more prosecuting cybercrime. The same thing Honorable Sam George ekasetia you know. And no more say be a cybersecurity incidents BC and as a cybercrime conduct be ACA authority ni benya ho kwan so be conducting criminal investigations no more prosecuting authority no ebe have the jurisdiction to prosecute all offenses under the Electronic Transactions Act 2008. Now offenses being and under the Electronic Transactions Act. Electronic Transactions Act no offenses no starting from a year 107, section 107. Omuchiemu stealing, appropriation, representation, charlatanic advertisements, attempt to commit crime, aiding and abetting, duty to prevent felony, forgery, intent, criminal negligence, access to protected computer, obtaining electronic payments medium falsely, electronic trafficking, possession of electronic counterfeits, general offense for fraudulent electronic and fund transfer, general provision for cyber offenses, unauthorized access or interception, unauthorized interference with electronic record, unauthorized access to devices, unauthorized circumvention, denial of service, unlawful access to stored communication, unauthorized access to computer program or electronic record. Enti we no enka exposes no. A course so anase course no. Bia o hono ma no be the document bi ababe to social media so na yetumi a share adwon no. Honorable Sam George through the Cybercrime Authority new bill omode ba no criminalize it say normal way. Now the yehu don't politicize this. The yehu was act we mu no. Section 59B the yehu no subsection 4. Almost say despite subsection 5, nothing shall prevent the authority from instituting a civil action independently or at the same time as the prosecution to recover monies, proceeds, benefits, properties, and assets purchased by a person with proceeds derived from or in the commission of the cybercrime. In related to subsection 6, if criminal prosecution fails, civil asset recovery shall still proceed, and confiscation orders shall have the effect of a civil judgment appealable from the High Court to the Court of Appeal. Where the authority considers that freezing of property is necessary to facilitate an investigation or prosecution, the authority shall in writing direct the freezing of property, specified property held by a person or entity other than the entity being investigated or prosecuted. The authority shall, within 14 days after freezing of the property, apply to the court for a confirmation of the freezing. Mami chemu hancho. The Honorable Sam George Modia say, say, I suspect, say, wow, video. Where we are, a buying sika, 50 Ghana cedis. Omo be start I investigate too. Omo as a cybersecurity authority. Honorable Sam George can say any one crisis omo yes sir. Name of body shaman mo. Omo be start investigate too. No omo prosecute too criminally. Omo prosecute you no. Kwan a ofa so nya sa 50 cedis no. Aban ho anasa whatever way no. Omo prosecute no. No mas also the wafa civil means so. Civil means no omo do obefa no. Say yemfa ne say asem no ebubo aban no. Na say wudi bima. And prevent you omo from somebody use civil means. And they are there was some dibia ewo ho. Into the dangers of that same way and they say Honorable Sam George mo say so omo de ugina ho say omo prosecute wa. Wo nya ndi fo no. Omo freeze wo assets na. What I say? Now for so man civil court. Akwa yes same. Ewo ho no wa twema so so civil court. Inti e ba ne say criminal court no want me prove cra say ampa. Wo na wo twi if this is if you aban ho no ma. Ewo civil court no say bi aban anase sa company na aboka wo ho no. Omo na bo Sam George mo no be twema so civil court ho. Regardless of the outcome of the criminal court, obi o lawyer bia bisa na asem we chiri no chiri mu chiro. Obi o lawyer bia bisa na asem we chiri mu no chiri mu chiro. Almost say if criminal prosecution fails, civil asset recovery should still proceed, and confiscation orders should have the effect of a civil judgment appealable from the High Court to the Court of Appeal. In so panel, they are appeal. Into when I say if persuasion fails, civil will be applied. Now, you know, the other red flag, you know, and they say, what Honorable Sam George not all complaining about in the old act, you know. Eka say about, say, in the old act, you know, I Act 1038, you know, Section 18, you know, a man who quite say authority, you know, a Bible appointing inspectors at the ama authority, you know. 18, you know, na power na our president, you know, so by appointing inspector. The ama authority no. There's an inspector and authority in the Bechanica, authority in the Bechano, any idea, also a background in cybersecurity, any technology near there, also you'll be our integrity. Now sign the panel so oba as an inspector. Oba be ensure say ombe to be in your orders, ombe to be in your warrants. Na say be a search be ho, and na say be ho no man. Oba or the reports be call any idea, oba ensure say data be retained and retrieved. Just say inspector no ebe answerable to the board near there, but na hado cyber security authority no police powers and as the powers of police name no in the new way no in the new bill no omo dey chemu say section 20 omo per se cyber security authority no any powers of police the powers of police no and omo be gina so say, almost say, the Director General, Deputy Director General, and other authorized officers shall exercise the powers of a police officer, including the power of arrest, search, and seizure, and have the same rights, protections, and immunities conferred on a police officer. And he had first, no, now His Excellency, our President, and also our appointed inspector, Emma authority, no, now inspector na be report my board no near there. See, I don't the powers of police because of say, or Marcus for the same thing. Honorable Sam George, and when this is allowed to happen, cybersecurity authority, no, a man force to say, a babedane witch hunting too. Because cybersecurity authority, no, head, no, 4 years. Sabain is a ne assistant. Sabain was so now by Shana said, the old no, ne assistant. Sana cyber security authority. It's some more powers of police now. That means say, and you know why you move now on ho. Oh, you cyber security authority. So this is more or less like a Trojan horse in this bill. And so mama cybersecurity authority no the power of police and also the power to prosecute, the power to investigate, and the power so may the omo in this bill now. It is going to be, and mark my words, it is going to be a political tool in the future, if not today, tomorrow. And that was what Honorable Sam George some time ago I was standing against our cybersecurity authority no and you omojuma ho. And so people are surprised say Honorable Sam George abano emom and na the oka say cybersecurity authority ne dwuma no omo pese ebe yo omojuma. Aha e gossip 24 also bet me a chewade e wo comment section no.